Hi, everyone. Today I have Victor Gelpi here on the call. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to have you on this call because, as I told you before we started recording, we talk about AI often on this kind of conversation that I'm having, but it's the first time that I have an actual expert. You are co-founder and AI frontier research at ZeroError AI, where you build a agentic AI system that help enterprises make sense of the data they collect. You worked on large-scale LLM training, and you've done healthcare AI research, and you're currently studying operational research and AI at Columbia University. Quite an impressive curriculum. So please tell me more about yourself, and then I would like to hear from you what a day in your life looks like nowadays.
Thank you so much, Felice. My interest, I guess, started in high school. Really, I've always been a very big NBA fan, huge Nets fan. Terrible team. We haven't won an NBA championship ever. Uh, what uh, what what I really liked doing as a kid was looking at the betting lines for games and trying to predict, who's going to win, and then afterwards seeing how much money I would have made. And I had this little paper that I had, and I would just with my pretend dollars to imagine how much money I would have won after the NBA season. And I didn't do too great. Vegas usually wins, and that's when not too long ago, certain markets started opening up where you could take bots and try to predict, try to automate the process of buying yeses or no into games. And I, found out, I started using existing machine learning models to be able to predict results in games. This is all in high school. This is all very basic. And long story short, I was able to turn my $100 investment for the season to $140. The next season, I put a lot more money, and the return was a lot higher. And that's where I started finding a love for learning algorithms. This was before ChatGPT and the way we think of AI now. The way I thought of AI going into college was just these models that exist. So I was accepted to Columbia fresh. I started freshman year of college. Around the same time, I'm connected with the CFO of MX and other founding team to create Zero Error. In the meantime, during the years that I've been in college and that I've been at Zero Error, I worked on the AI team at Scale AI and the ICAA team at UPenn and Wharton to develop a bot that could detect cognitive impairment in older adults. I'm still very young. A lot of my experiences have been, a lot of learning and a lot of creating and exploring this ever-changing field that is AI.
How does someone reach out and connect to executive and Amex? How
It
did
was
you do it?
oh, Catalans. Our entire founding team was mostly from Catalonia. Well, for us, one of the it was these communities um, uh, can be very small, and when you have the ability to meet people that are very high up in these small communities, you have to take it.
Okay, that's very interesting. So tell me, I'm very curious. You are a founder at ZeroError AI. What does the life of a founder looks like for you? What does a day in your life look like?
Mm.
And the
Well,
student, right?
I'm
So
still
you're making the two
yes.
things working, right?
So I'm still a student. My day, half of my day looks like going to classes. The other half is doing startup stuff, which less and less every time, but a lot of it is rolling up your sleeves and doing the work that I guess you weren't really planning on doing, right? And that because on small teams, people are doing a lot of roles at the same time. So a lot of my time is spent trying to automate what I do. So in terms of, I work on the data quality. I work on the data team. I lead the data team, and that's being able to think of what is every step in the process that we do and seeing how I can automate my own work. So then I can work less and spend my time doing other things. The other half of the day is spent doing classes, learning, and trying to take what I learn in class and see if I can see how I can implement it into the work I'm doing.
So your job is getting yourself out of a job.
Basically, every
Yeah.
day I can try to replace myself with AI is a successful day.
Amazing. And how it is reconciling like all the work. I guess it's a big commitment studying and working. How is it working out for you? What's the impact that it's having on your life?
Yeah. So from a practical perspective, I try to take many courses that where attendance is a lower percentage of the grade because our clients are all over the United States. There's a lot of traveling. 2 weeks ago, I was in Vegas for Manifest. Last week, I was in Italy for a client we had there. So, if my classes are very attendance focused and don't have the opportunity for me to learn remotely, then it's hard because I might miss 30% of the school year. So for balance, it's finding courses where I can learn separately. And that means if they record the classes, if they put a lot of notes online, I try to do my research beforehand, and then simply managing time and expectations for myself. And goes back to the efficiency and the automating, looking at where can I do what I do faster, and where can I, in terms of classes, do the classes that have the most yield for me while not requiring, me to be present in school physically.
Is this what you always wanted to do?
In terms of what? In terms of do it,
As a kid,
yeah,
when you were dreaming about a dream job, is this what you had in mind?
yeah.
Like traveling the world, talking to clients, solving big problems for big organization? Or what was your dream as a kid and how it does it reflect into what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome question. I still, to a certain degree, think of myself as slightly as a kid. Still, I obviously have to sell myself as the very opposite. And a lot of times, the biggest challenge with selling is, hey, despite my youth, I can do this. But I think, yeah, the as a kid, I wanted to be a soccer player. I'm not good enough. So the second best thing was, yeah, to be able to do something where I can move around. So at Zero, I get to move around and I get to work with all types of different projects, and to be able to constantly be learning. I think in this developing world, one of the worst things you can do is stay static and not put yourself in a position where you're not learning. So this very podcast we're doing here is awesome because every week from whoever coming in, you're learning new ideas and you're bringing in new ideas, and that exchange of knowledge is one of the most valuable things we have, especially in this era of AI, where AI is in this static space where it can only use the data available. It can't listen to our conversations. It can't know the things that we're learning from each other. So there's, I think, immense value in learning. And that's what, as a kid, I always wanted to do, be put in places where I can learn. And here I'm doing a lot of learning.
Amazing, amazing. This thing that you said about staying static is something that I think about a lot because I traveled a lot in my life. I've always been restless since I was a kid. Like my dream has always been to leave, go see exotic places and travel the world. And in my little way, I've been able to do that. And a question that I get asked a lot, and I finally found an answer to it, is many, many people ask me, so you're moving a lot. So what are you running from or what are you running towards? I was thinking about this answer recently and I realized that my answer to it is for or towards or running from. It makes no difference because when a man is static, they either are asleep or dead. And I don't want to be any of the two. I prefer being moving all the time. And that's metaphorical. It's a
Yeah,
metaphorical, as much as a practical thing. So totally with you on that. Let
I
me.
like that
I'm
a lot.
curious about learning more about Zero Error. Your company Zero Error AI. You said you've been 3 years in the business.
Hmm.
Okay.
Uh, yes. Yeah.
My
So,
question is well, tell me about the story of the inception story of the company. I'm very curious. I'm sure it's gonna be epic, and I want to hear more about what's the makeup of the company, how many people working there. Well, you said roles right now, span a wide range of
yeah.
responsibilities. I'm curious to learn more about what it looks like.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. So we founded 3 years ago. The CEO, she was CFO of Mamex. We have a team we have CRO of MetLife. We have a lot of people who worked heavily in risk, finance, and lots of data. And the problem they were facing was that they would get these huge reports and these huge data sets coming in from different places, and it was very challenging to know why problems were occurring and where they were coming from. It required a huge team and a huge investment in time and money to be able to decide and to be able to decipher where problems were originating from, why they were happening, and what they could do to fix them. And this is a problem that it isn't just specific to finance. It's not specific to supply chain. It's not specific to insurance. It's everywhere. Data's everywhere, and problems with data are everywhere. Um, the Our company kind of collided with the emergence of AI and would not be possible with these very high level transform models that exist now, because what we sort of did was automate the entire process of being able to detect where an error comes from, why it's an error, how to fix it, and be able to do it at a very high level. So that means we have 70% of our team is in research and analytics. So being able to have a very good team, be able to automate the process of deciphering what an error is and how to correct it. Uh, um, we have a team of 10 people, some freelance, some internal. What we like to say is that we have 170 AI employees. So a lot of the things that we can automate, we automate, and we have internal bots taken care of. And so that's especially on the technical side. What would previously have been the work of an analyst, we now have specialized models that we've developed that can do it for us. So 10-ish employees, 170 different AI employees, if you will.
Agents. Interesting. 10 employees. How many are founders and how many are executives or founders?
Um,
Okay. Is it so? Tell me about your founding. Tell me about your founding story. Like, how did you meet your founder? How did you end up, yeah, getting together,
yeah.
teaming
So,
up?
oh, sorry, two apart from myself, so three.
All right, cool. How did you meet them? Is that from the small town in Spain?
Yeah, yeah. Through Valderoves, it's the Catalan community. It's very small.
So your other two founders are in Spain right now?
They're in New York. We're
Oh,
all
okay.
Catalans in New York. Yeah, the
All right,
Catalan
cool, cool,
community
cool. Oh, I get it. I get
in
it.
New
All
York is
right,
very
cool, cool.
small. So yeah, so just a few summers ago, I was able to see the Barca Madrid game here and meet and meet a lot of executives from Google and people leading the AI drive there because the community is small and there's just not a lot of us. So when the government here does an event here, there's simply not enough spaces to fill, and a 20-year-old, 19-year-old college student and some of the high schoolers we have working, who are also Catalans, have the opportunities to be there because there's just not enough Catalans to fill up the space. So that's how originally.
Okay, cool. So 3 year in business, what would you say has been your the biggest achievement to date?
So two things. One is the lineage system we have. So that's being able to map out the entire data warehouse a team has. So, we'll have clients that have factories all over the world, interconnected data from different ERP systems, different SaaS solutions that they have in very high speed and incredible accuracy, map out the entirety of the entire data lineage. And then from there, obviously be able to map out how errors are connected between that mapping. In terms of the brand, one of the one of the most important things for us to develop is trust. And so for us, over the last 3 years, the biggest thing for us has been establishing trust and continuing to sell trust because we sell at the end of the day trust in data. And how can you trust the solution we're giving if you don't trust us? So when we're thinking of how we sell ourselves, it's constantly how can people trust us? And that comes in throughout time, just being able to slowly develop that. So for us, the two biggest things have been this data lineage and being able to over the slow and long process develop trust among our clients and future clients.
Interesting. Yeah, trust is a big topic, especially when it comes to brand, because brand is all about communicating,
Yeah.
trust, solidity, reliability. Well, all the values, the specific values of that a company has. So it's something that it's always top of mind for us brand strategists. What about the future or the near future of your company? Is there any other milestones in sight? Anything you're looking forward to? Usually for young startups, is that rounds of funding, events, or launching of new products? What's on the horizon for you?
So currently in terms of funding, we're bootstrapped, and in the last 2 years, we've been at positives. Um, the solution is self funding for us. In terms of what we've been really looking towards is supply chain. We found a huge customer base in supply chain. We've been attending a large amount of events. We were at Manifest last 2 weeks ago, and we're going to be in Modex in a couple of weeks. So it's really targeting and going into the supply chain vertical where there is a huge need for a strong data quality solution and where we are making a large amount of impact and can quickly get clients. So really targeting the supply chain vertical has been the big objective that we have for the coming months.
When you say supply chain, is it the supply chain as a whole, or like because
Yeah.
I worked and I met a few companies working in AI, and they all found this insight that supply chain is a big market for application AI applications. So I'm curious, when you say supply chain, have you found that manufacturing rather than logistics are something that you are looking to focus on in the future? Or?
There's data across. We've worked with both. So in terms of how we sell ourselves, it's really if you have data and you're a big company with a lot of data, uh, that's our goal, regardless of its manufacturing or logistics. And that's really the hardest thing to do, right? To be able to brand yourself as data on both and not just one specific.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But it sounds like the results that you're getting for clients are speaking for themselves, and it's how easy has it been to actually build and communicate the trust that you are talking about?
Yeah. So there's two groups. One is the people that are already getting the solution, and that is a lot easier for us because all we need to do is do a good job. Which is hard in and of itself when you've been doing it for 3 years, when you've had um, the experience that our team has outside of the company and within the company, that's very easy. So we have those initial calls with clients or potential clients. Almost always it leads to the project, and the reason is because we can show what we can do and we can build that trust early, and from there constantly continue to um continue to have that trust. Sorry, I missed the word. It's much harder to have trust, to create trust in people who don't know you yet and haven't tried the product you have, because it's one thing to say, hey, we did this for these guys. For a lot of companies, they're going to be, or a lot of individuals to be, okay, I see what you did in manufacturing, but how does that apply to logistics? Or even within logistics, how I see what you did for one company, how is that going to apply to what we can do here? And that's really the hardest challenge: communicating to the person you're selling, hey, this is what I do, and this is how your specific problem can be solved by what we do. And for a lot of people, that's something that it's very hard to communicate to, because they see what you do, they think of their problem, and they're like, "Oh, my problem is too niche. You just won't get it." And getting just that initial call to be able to have that conversation and show them, "No, we do," is very difficult.
While you were telling me this, I cannot imagine. So one question, and then I'll tell you why I'm thinking it down this road is who's taking care of sales in your company right now?
It's we have one person, very very small sales team.
Like, do you find yourself going into sales conversation with clients?
Of course, yeah. In terms of like most of the entire founding team
They're
is involved
always
in the sales,
okay.
and a large part of it we deal with mostly Fortune 100 to 500 clients, and being as new and as small as we are, most executives want to be having the conversation to begin with the founder, with the CEO. Usually, it's the success rate is a lot higher there. Yeah, most of our sales are done by our founding team, which obviously, as you asked before about timing, it is a very large time commitment, but it is the reality of selling, that you want to have kind of the guys in charge being the ones up front. And I'm sure that's
And
something that you find with your brand as well. If you have someone else, Felicia's brand, Felicia Studio, it's not going to be as successful, right? Because it's not you
not
selling.
only that, but I myself on my projects, I will not take on a project where I cannot talk directly with the people that are holding the vision. So on the opposite end, it's the same for me. I need to have access to the founders because I need to understand what the vision is. And I will not take on a project where I cannot work with the people that are holding the vision, the company. So, but my question was, I was trying to imagine myself 20 years old into a room with a Fortune 100 company CEO trying to trying to sell them a technical solution. How does that feel for you? And has it gotten easier in time? What does it feel like today?
You'd hope it gets easier. I'll still get a little nervous. I'll stutter as I do now. Yeah, no. Overall, I think we sometimes magnify the certain roles of certain people. It's like when you meet a professional soccer player, for instance, right? When you meet Messi, at the end of the day, it's just a regular guy. It's a regular person. They watch the same Instagram reels you do. They do a lot of the same stuff you do. And it's just another person. So I think that's um going into meetings and conversations, one of the most important things that you have to remind yourself to be able to survive in this world, that you're dealing with other people. You're not dealing with these perfect, like, executive robots that can do everything. It's human beings, and it's just learning to It was just calm down and have a conversation with someone who, you know, will teach you a lot, will know a lot of things that you don't, but then will also have something to learn from what you bring. And that's why they're going to us in the first place, because there's a problem they have that they need solving, and that's something we can do. But yes, it was very daunting in the beginning, and I think it has been some degree of learning and adapting on my end to be able to learn how it works, I guess, also at these high levels.
That's amazing. Have you found your age to be more of an asset in this kind of situation or more an obstacle?
A bit of both. I think with a lot of these things, it's about turning what could be a disadvantage into an advantage. So yeah, for a lot of people, the first question is, you know, 20 years old, you're this inexperienced. How can you do this, right? So part of it is showing. So showing what we can do. That's usually the biggest way to break that age question. But overall, if I had to quantify, I would say slightly in the disadvantage, because sometimes there's certain biases that come in terms of being younger that are hard to defeat, and that's something you have to try to break. In other spaces, I'm thinking supply chain specifically here, but in other spaces, it can sometimes be more advantageous to be younger because of that potential that people think about it. It's like, okay, if you're 20 years old and you're doing this now, imagine where you're going to be in 5, 10 years.
Yes.
And so, that's why a lot of, startups, and you see YC, you see many people in the lead of AI, they're very young. And part of that is because the people are investing in them, the companies investing in them, clients are investing in them, are under the belief that if you're younger, then maybe you can do more. And I think this ageism on both sides is pretty negative, because, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 40. Your experiences could be compiled from the last 5 years. It's more about what you can do and what you know than how many years you've been on this earth. Because of course, there's going to be advantages or disadvantages to both. When you're talking industry specific, my opinion is that it shouldn't matter. But I have seen how, with a team of people that are older, we sometimes decide even who goes into a sales call depending on the age and how and what we think the representation of ourselves will be improved by based on who's coming. No, yeah, very good question.
Well, I'm trying to imagine myself. I mean, all what you've been able to achieve at that age. Like, I'm trying to imagine myself in your shoes, and I can see myself totally panicking, not wanting to show up in a sale call. You couldn't probably pay me to show up to a sale call. Now I would. Now it took me a lot longer to learn the lesson that you just shared. That we're all people. Everybody's doing the best they can, and when we get into a room and in a sale conversation, the conversation should be about the opportunity and not about how old I am or what. But yeah, that's a lesson that took me way longer than you to learn. Change your gear now. I wanted to ask you, in your company, you said it's been bootstrapped. Are there any creative roles right now, or have there ever been? Or maybe you worked with external contractors covering creative roles? What is that?
We have we have one contractor, so that's for the stuff like the logo, certain videos. Um, we in terms of branding, outside of that, we haven't done a whole lot. If you go on the zero error like post, we don't do a whole lot of creative, and that's something where we honestly have to go more into. Going back to what I was talking about before on agents, one of the most interesting things I think with AI and machine learning is this idea that people have created, um, or they've invented that AI can create. AI does not create because in the way we humans do. Because at the end of the day, it's a model. Even if whether it's a supervised or unsupervised learning model, whether it's a transformer model, it's not genuinely created. And so when we go into our creative teams, or when we're thinking about how are we going to create um uh certain content, we don't think about it. We can't do what we do in other technical spaces where we can just have an agent do it. Sure, there's a lot of models, and there's a lot of people out there saying now, oh, with an AI we can create your content. Sure, if you already have the ideas in mind, the creation AI will do is only a complex form of plagiarism. It's not going to genuinely create and innovate in the way that human beings can. I think it is important to have a human creative, because I don't think AI can create the way we do as humans.
So you were saying before, though, we should invest more in creative. Tell me
Yeah.
more about that. What are you thinking about?
Well, so most of our, you said you have been doing a lot of marketing on LinkedIn, for yourself, and for us, that's where most of our clients come in. Most of our clients are executives that might literally just message us through LinkedIn, and that changes across companies. From many many of my peers at Columbia who are doing startups, they will have hundreds of thousands of followers or more on Instagram, and they're going to be getting. Their goal is to get millions of views on Instagram because they're product is to people that are closer to my age, and it's uh, business to consumer. For us, we're B2B to very large companies. LinkedIn, maybe X, and these spaces where you'll see uh, more executives is where we try to sell, and that means a whole different style of branding. One is that trust we were talking about earlier, which is being able to brand ourselves as people that you can trust. And that means that certain content for us is off limits. And that, for example, are not off limits, but we have to be very careful with it, right? And that includes humor, right? When you make a post or when you make content that is funny, it's awesome. You get a lot of views. The problem is humor, whatever you're laughing at something. And when we're dealing with a client, right, where we're getting put into the system, what's happening is we're getting a lot of data. There needs to be a very high level of trust they can have in us. But also, there's a very long process, and that includes going through HR. And if HR goes through and they see any content that can any way be interpreted as insulting, a whole month of conversation, a whole weeks of conversation down the drain, right? So for us, um, it's when we're thinking about where we want to go with creation of content and being able to attract more viewership and more noise around our company. It's in a way where we can continue to seem trustworthy or continue to give this appearance of trust, a certain level of professionalism, and the yeah the this not avoid having the problems with HR, because for us that's never been a problem, but we have seen how other companies that sell to these businesses can be road stopped very quickly because one post was misinterpreted in some way, even if the intention was good and out of good humor. So that is really one of the biggest challenges that we're facing, and when we're thinking about how we sell ourselves is how can we continue to maintain this image while at the same time being human beings and showing that we're not robots. That's something that a lot of my co-founders who work at Fortune 100, Fortune 500 sometimes complain about, is that you need to be to a certain degree a little bit robotic because um, you know HR is it can be a major roadblock.
And you said you did some work on your brand and your branding, logo, etc. As I'm sure some of what you just talked about went into that process. I would like to hear a little bit more about what that looked like.
So I personally wasn't involved in pretty much any of this branding. Yeah, so a lot of the thought there is what gives the impression of you can trust, and how do we very clearly market what we do. Even the name Zero Error, it's quite clear we
Yes.
try to make this promise of no errors in your data. For us, it's constantly thinking about what are the things that we want potential clients to take away. One of the hardest things is verifying the success metrics behind the decisions we make. So we have our logo, which we have, which we had, remember our team do, which is like the two zeros like this, zero error.
Yes.
You don't, at the end of the day, you never know how successful that logo was versus another logo, because there aren't many ways we have of testing. And in a lot of the other stuff we do, we can run through a model and see, oh, this model to detect error is much better than this one. For branding, it's very hard to be able to successfully test without spending a whole lot of time, money, and resources. So for us, it's representing ourselves, but at the same time trying to do it in a way where we think we'll have a high level of accuracy, because trying a lot of things out means also having to test them, and it's a large level of risk that we try to spend, that level of investment we try to spend on delivering a strong solution. And that's things that you need to balance.
I think there are some indirect indicators that a brand is working for the business and not against it. And it usually comes from customer conversations. Do customers perceive you as an established brand before you show up into the room? I read recently this book that's very interesting. It's more for consultants, but it has some interesting nuggets that I think can be extended to most companies. And they say that the sales process is divided in 4 conversations. Don't ask me what all the four were, but one that I remember is the first conversation that happens when you're not even in the room. And that is your reputation, your brand, what you look like in your marketing materials on your website. So that when you do enter the room and meet the people that you are selling to, the first conversation has already happened. They already had it before you entered the room. I was looking at your website while you were talking. I see that thing that you were telling me about. I see that you worked to kind of include that human element that it's important to you with this how could I define it, opinionated typeface that you choose. But interesting. This is the question that I was most looking forward to ask you, because you have a foot in AI, like you understand AI deeply. You touched on this briefly before, but my question is, actually, before we go there, you said this is a little bit opaque, but how has design, creative, brand contributed to some of your company's successes, if at all? And you are a sales driven company so far. That's my understanding, right? Not a marketing driven company. So design usually and brand usually take a back seat in this situation, especially early stage. So that might be the case for you. But I'm just curious to hear if you have any insight into how whatever design choices or choices you made with your visual identity has contributed to your company's success.
Yeah, I think it has taken mostly a backseat, as you said. We focus a lot on sales, but it is something that is super important regardless. Even if it's a back seat, the passenger you have in the back seat is making the wrong noise. The ride is terrible.
Yes.
We do so we we do want to have a branding where um, hmm, it goes a little bit back to what I was saying before, where it's hard for us to track the success a specific decision has. But for us, it's been mostly uh, trying to always try to post as much about what we're doing constantly, and it's inconsistent on and off. But it's really branding ourselves as we do these specific things, and that's all we do, and we do them very well, and that's constantly the message that we're trying to deliver. And so, you're looking at the website, big words you see: solve data quality. We want to deliver one clear message and deliver it strongly in everything we do. And how we go about doing that is through as much more through writing and through short messages. But it is a difficult always to determine where you want to make the investments in how you market yourself, and then where and how exactly you want to brand yourself in a way that you can be understood across industry, but still for every industry they can comprehend, appreciate what you do. And those are the challenges that we're grappling with every day.
I see. And as your company grows, how do you see the role of brand design and creative changing into it? What will the future of brand design and creative in your company look like? Do you see yourself working with more external contractor, or in an ideal world, you will have an internal team? You'll probably have a marketing program. If you've given some thought to that yet, I understand you might be completely focused on sales right now, but I'm curious to hear if you have a vision
No,
for
we
the
have.
future as to the creative part of your organization.
Yeah. So this starts with what I said earlier today, where the objective is to automate myself as much as possible for me. And the objective for the company is to automate everything we do as much as possible. Right now, the turnaround for a product is 1 week, which is months and years faster than what previously and what currently exists. As we continue to automate, the objective would be to have our solution be something you can do in an instant, right? Not in the hour that we currently take. And once you have an adapting solution that requires no human in the loop, now you're going to a whole wider array of clientele, and that's where you need a very strong marketing push. Future tense, yes, we like many companies, we would move from that 80-20 or 70-30 that I was talking earlier to the 50-50 that you see in a lot of companies, or a 40-60, where the investment in marketing would would have to be a lot higher, simply because you're trying to reach a lot more people. So yes, as we grow and as we automate, more and more the need for a clear branding and marketing strategy, and for a larger scale of marketing would definitely be needed.
Now, finally, we got to the question that I was really looking forward to ask you
Yeah,
as an AI expert. And I want you to go, I want you to take me on a trip as far into the future as you'd like.
yeah,
And I would like to hear, how do you see, first, let's start from your organization? Because as an AI driven company, I'm sure you are highly motivated to use AI also to optimize and amplify your creative output, which is something that every creative is already doing right now. But I'm sure your company will probably be uniquely equipped to explore, new ways to use AI in creative. So I would like to hear if you given some thought as to what that will look like in your company, and then I would like to take me a trip as far into the future as possible. What will brand design creative look like in the era of AI 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Will there still be designers around anymore? You touched on this already, but how do you see AI impacting the future of creative in your company? And then the world at large and the creative industry alike.
For ZeroError, we're already using AI for certain parts. So that's a video that we launched recently has had a big AI element, but we needed still a designer to make sure that every image we were choosing, every image that the AI was choosing was being represented in the way that it still represents our brand and our image and our message, that message of trust. And even the decision of what images within the video to include, a lot of it was designed by the designer and by us developing that message, right? Because at the end of the day, we write the script, we have the ideas we want to communicate, and it's a lot of back and forth with the AI, right? So it's not just something where it's like, AI, here's my company, here's the message I want to deliver, make me a video. That's the limit is going to be very low. And obviously, as these models improve, it's going to get better and better. But you're still going to be very limited by whatever the scope of the model and whatever the scope of what the model has been trained with is. As a whole, I think when you look to machine learning, there's two different types of learning. There's supervised and unsupervised learning. Supervised is where you have a specific goal that you want your model to reach, and unsupervised is where I guess you're letting the model create. And I think when we're thinking of creative, we can think more towards unsupervised models where we're letting the model kind of explore and find new ideas, and that's great. But as AI improves, you are not going to be losing jobs. You are going to be generating jobs for people to supervise whatever the AI is doing. I think a good example is Andrew made a post um, yesterday, sorry, where he had AI develop the design for a birthday cake, and then he went to a bakery and create the birthday cake that the ChatGPT, I believe it was, designed for the daughter. I think you're going to see a lot of that in the future with brand and design, where it's the AI can help with implementing an idea, helping think of idea generation, can work in both. You still need the human that's writing those prompts to be in the loop, right? To be able to determine what is good and what is bad. You need designers to help again with the same thing. Say, hey, this is what you want. This is not what you want, right? Because AI is very good at generating things. It's very bad at deciding what if the very things it's generated are good or bad. Obviously, it can learn. Obviously, it can improve. But without human eyes looking at what you're creating, the ceiling is going to be very low because there's going to be no quality metrics. So designers are going to simply be doing more because now with AI, they're going to be able to create a lot faster, and from there develop more for more clients, for more people, for whatever they want to do, and develop higher level solutions, because a lot of the things that before you had to edit manually, you can now edit with AI. And now you, as a decision maker, can create more. So a lot of manual tasks, a lot of designers who base themselves off of being able to do certain like manual technical things very well will be more replaced, and it's going to be more designers that are thinking strategically, that are thinking at a higher level. So what AI is going to do is it's going to replace a lot of simple tasks, but it's not going to, at least in the next 5 years, be able to replace the higher level of thinking that we see from um, across industries and in design. It's the creativity aspect. AI creates based off what it knows, but it doesn't know all the things that you know, and that's where creative is. I don't believe is going to be replaced for the foreseeable future.
It's
Simply
interesting.
enhanced.
As you were speaking, I just also realized that AI, as good as it gets, it will, at a certain point, whatever AI output, as good as it will be, it will be baseline output because everybody has access to the most advanced AI models ever because it's the interest of AI companies to put the models in as many hands as possible. Right? So as we all have access to the same models, everybody can create the same baseline of creative output. And so then the intervention of a human that can understand the nuances of culture, communication, and can make bold decision regarding the creative will be even more fundamental to setting, your communication apart from the competition. Let's say it's like, I'm going to make probably a poor comparison, but everybody today has a beautiful looking website that works well. It uses established UX patterns. Like 99% of the website on the internet are accessible to most people. So now the baseline is that, and it's very easy and it's very quick and very cost efficient to deploy a website today because of all the tools that are available to everyone. You don't need a designer to deploy a good looking website today. However, a website that has been going through all the design phases and has been overlooked by professionals is going to look always different and better and more unique than a run-of-the-mill templatized website, right? And I'm not saying everybody needs Tony Stark to design their website. Most of the time, a website is a utility. Fine, but yeah, I can see what you're saying, and I want to agree. And it's very reassuring to hear it from you. Yeah,
I like that. I like what you talked about the uniqueness, right? It's the AI will be able to replace some of the things you do. It does not replace you, right? And that's true for everyone. Right? I think across industry, the most important thing is going to be able to find what are the things that you can do that AI can do, and be able to expand on that and be able to expand on your uniqueness. And again, what you were saying, there's a limit. This progress we're seeing eventually it's gonna hit a function the close to logarithmic, right? Where if you're constantly training it, there's only going to be so much that it can be trained with. There's only so much stuff it can learn from. Eventually, there's going to be a cap to where AI is truly innovating, and that's where we're going to need human beings and people with ideas to be able to bring it to the next level. And that's where designers and people in every industry are going to be
yes, yes,
doing
yes.
the things that AI can do, which is
Yeah, yeah.
true innovation.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the work of an analyst is that much different from the work of a designer nowadays. We all rely on tools to get raw materials and then we use our own minds to, make sense of them. So in a way, everything is most jobs are created. So great. On this high note, I'll be ready to wrap up. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
I know. Wow, 55 minutes. That was
Yes.
that flew by. Felt like it just started.
Yes. That was a very interesting
Yeah, and
conversation.